Oh, I see how it is. I see. You think John's on vacation. He's not even thinking about ARTV. He's posted up these photos of himself on the beach. He's not caring about anything. He's not gonna review any music. Well, that, my friends, is where you're wrong. Let's talk about the new ASAP Rocky album, Testing. What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the third studio album by the Harlem rapper ASAP Rocky. It's titled Testing, and this is the follow-up to At Long Last ASAP that came out in 2015. This further saw the rapper experimenting, going a little bit psychedelic with some of those tracks like LSD and many other cuts on the record, and while I did find it to be inconsistent overall, I gave it a relatively positive review. I didn't enjoy it as much as his debut or even his mixtape Long Live ASAP. That was something that I really got behind and just cherished the sound of, and it just felt like maybe he had lost a little bit of himself on At Long Last. But I was excited about this new album, especially after hearing ASAP Forever, which is one of my favorite songs of the year. And it is criminal that it's not actually on the album, not in its pure form. It sampled a Moby track, and that initial form is nowhere to be found on this album. Instead, we have to deal with the remix, which is still really good. Kid Cudi's on it, T.I. is here, and ASAP is still bringing the same bars and rhymes that he had on his previous version. I just really liked how ambient and soothing the initial version felt. So I'm just gonna pretend that that's here, and we're still going to include that on the record because I had to talk about that song. It's just one of the best songs of the year, hands down. So smooth, and that rap from Rocky that just really comes in, gang, gang, and everybody's trying to touch the ASAP name, and they're claiming it as their own, and he sets the record straight. Now, the title Testing actually refers to the fact that he's testing his sound, so to speak. And I do like the way that he teased this album. He said testing at the end of the music video for ASAP Forever, which an amazing video, one of the best of the year so far. Please do yourself a favor and watch that if you haven't already, because I can't even fathom how much work and heart and soul went into making that and making it a reality, I should say. But the title Testing was thrown up at the end of the video, and then he kind of said testing, testing leading up to it, and then testing complete once the album dropped. And I didn't even know exactly when this record was coming, so it came as a surprise to me, but after loving ASAP Forever, I knew that I had to get my hands on this project. And overall, I do have to say that it is a disappointment, because it does seem like a science experiment. The title referred to the fact that he's testing his sound, he's trying new sonic territories, and I really like that about Rakim, aka Rakim Myers, ASAP Rocky. I like the fact that he puts himself out there and he's not really afraid of what other rappers or people in general think of him, and I admire that. He's into fashion, he's into other things as well. Rapping and music is his first, but he also has other passions and he follows those. And on this album, you can tell that he has these other pursuits. He works in samples from everyone from other rappers like Tupac, and you've obviously got Project Pat, Juicy J samples from the 3 6 Mafia as well, and then he's got some more indie stylings because he samples an indie band and like a folk singer. So it's a very interesting vibe, but it also makes for a little bit of a disjointed effort as a whole. Right away, I want to praise Rocky's technical skills here because he's still on top of his game in that regard. I like the fact that he's able to get a little bit more emotional on some of these cuts, like near the end of this record, we see a track called Changes where he truly opens up and puts himself out there more than he really has before, and that even continues on Black Tux, White Collar, which has some interesting political commentary on it and talks about police brutality, race relations, and that's no stranger on this album. He opens up with the very first track, which comes in with kind of some warped bass, and it's almost soothing in a very odd way, the way that it comes across and it hits you. That track is called Distorted Records, and I really admire the way that he builds up suspense on that one, but then he goes political and starts talking about Trump. And I love the fact that people will just come out and say, oh, another rapper gone political, or somebody else talking about politics, can't we just go a day? And I'm over here thinking, like, can I just go a day without seeing something crazy that Trump or his administration did? That's just me and how I feel, so why can't a musician put how they're feeling out there? If you don't like it, don't listen to it. UK grime and rap artist Skepta comes through with a great verse and feature on the track Praise the Lord to Shine. This is one of my favorite cuts here. The sample, the beat, everything is just fire. The way that it weighs out, you immediately get sucked into it because it feels like it's maybe like a pan flute or some other woodwind type instrument that works in on the sample, and the way that that cuts all throughout. Rocky's on top of his game, and I just like the collection of guests that he brought here, even the ones that aren't featured on the album technically. I mean, Frank Ocean does have an official feature and he actually raps on a track, but we also have moments where he just has backing vocals. The same goes for Blockboy JB, and not that I'm really a fan of these tracks, but even the Playboy Cardi features. That's something that's not credited, but they did work on a lot of things behind the scenes. And that's something that you have to admire about A$AP Rocky, is that he doesn't rush his projects. Just like I recently talked about with Pusha T. They actually have a lot of things in common. A drug dealing past and the fact that they have the added benefit of time. They still have relevancy and talent, but they don't have to force out projects every 2 months or whatever a lot of rappers are doing now, it seems like. Don't really care for the FKA Twigs feature on FUKK Sleep. That one is just kind of a weird mishmash of sounds, some rolling trap hi-hats there, and it just feels like the chemistry was off because it's not in line with what a lot of this album was doing in terms of using sampling, not just relying on trap or anything like that. In fact, this one leans more towards that dimension than really anything else on the album, and once again, it just further plays into that whole disjointed effort thing that I was talking about. But there's so many great songs here, not ones that I feel are particularly amazing that will last forever, but still some really solid, good, and dare I say, great tracks. But we've got something like FUKK Sleep that weighs it down for me, and also like the Kodak Black feature where it's talking about his prison sentence and everything like that. On CALLDROPS, it's really quick, quiet, and just, again, out of place. I don't know how to feel about some of these tracks that really throw off the pacing. However, you don't have to look too much further to find some other great moments here. OG Beeper is gonna please any Rocky fan. The beat on it is just so nice, so sultry, dig right into that. The lyrics are fantastic there as well, and I love hearing the recollection from Rocky, calling it all the way back to the 90s and when he started trapping and everything that was going on in his life and how much things have changed and how he's changed as well. And that further plays into the last act of this album. Not that all songs are connected, but he does get a little bit more sentimental and probably reflective, I would say, in its last stage. Lots of sound effects and ad-libs come all throughout Testing, but one of my favorite uses of gunshots, and that sound effect in particular, was on the track Buckshots. This refers to like a shotgun, the way that's fired, loaded, and the ammunition and everything like that. This track actually does have a pretty stomping feel to it in the way that just Rocky storms into the cut and takes the reins. I feel like he's more dominant here than he is on a lot of these cuts. I think there's many refined tracks here, and that's okay to be a little bit more not brimming over the top with enthusiasm and excitement, but he does hit those moments still, and I think Buckshots is one of the most tenacious ones that really puts itself out there. Tony Tone is another one of those, and I feel like that's like a little bit of funk and a little bit of soul meeting A$AP Rocky in the middle, and the meeting halfway is just a really colorful and euphoric expression because the bars are straight up fire on this one. I like the way that he flows over this beat. And I have to think that he needs to be commended for that because I don't feel like a lot of people, especially these days, are giving A$AP Rocky the credit that he deserves because they've moved on to all these other rappers, the trappers, and I think that people need to put some respect on that name. As much as I do stick up for Rocky and his style, I can't say that this is that engaging of an album overall though, and that's unfortunate because there are songs that I'm definitely going to be keeping. I already mentioned some of them, and there will be my favorites and least favorites linked in the description down below. But other than that, and the fact that I was a little bit turned off by the fact that we didn't even get ASAP Forever technically as a bonus track, it's just out as a single, and we have to deal with the remix on the album. Once again, the remix is fun. I like even Kid Cudi's rapping on that track, which surprised me, but overall, I am just a little bit displeased at the fact that it's not there. I'm gonna pretend it's there. I'm still gonna put it in the favorites, and I'm not gonna write remix or anything. I'm just gonna put ASAP Forever because that totally is probably one of my top 20, if not top 10 songs of the year at this point. Anyways, what do you guys think of testing? I know this is a little bit out of my realm. I don't talk about a ton of rap and hip hop, but I'm trying to cover some just because I do listen to it. I know that it's not always my strongest suit, but bear with me. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm going to give testing a strong 3 out of 5. Thanks again for tuning into my ASAP Rocky review. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notifications. Please drop a like on the video as well. And if you would like to see another ASAP Rocky review, you can tap right over here. Another recent rap review right here, and all of my social media accounts, including my Patreon, are linked down below.